Cape Cod Broadcasting weaves the listening environments of 99.9 WQRC, Ocean 104.7, WFCC Classical 107.5, Cape Country 104, and CapeCon.com's website experience to reflect the lifestyles of the people who live, work, and play on Cape Cod. We hope that you enjoy this podcast.
I'm Laura Reckford, and this is Sunday Journal. We are focused on politics with the general election coming up on November 4th. We have a contested race in the Second Barnstable District. The Second Barnstable District covers most of the town of Barnstable, plus 2 precincts in the town of Yarmouth. The incumbent in the district is Brian Mannell, and Adam Chaprales is looking to unseat him. Adam, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start with you introducing yourself to voters. Give us a little bit of your background, if you could.
Sure. My name's Adam Chaprales. I'm a native born and raised on this beautiful Cape Cod, never moved off the island, and educated myself through Cape Cod Community College. Then I did the 2+2 program through Suffolk University, where I received my bachelor's degree in journalism. Started my own practice in financial service as a financial services professional, and worked my way up to become a partner at a Fortune 100 company. And then most recently started my own business up in Centerville, Coastal Insurance and Mass Mutual Financial Group, where I have about a dozen or so advisors that work underneath me. Most importantly, though, the biggest piece that makes me who I am is married to my beautiful wife, Inez. We're married of 4 years, and we have a 20-month-old baby, Adam Jr. He's the apple of my eye, and I'm very excited for him to be getting involved into the community and enjoy the same benefits that I enjoyed here on Cape Cod, going to the great schools that we have here and so on and so forth. So, it's always been my pleasure to be involved in civic duty. I was a former Sandwich Selectman, vice chairman of the board. Nice fact is I was actually the youngest ever elected to the board's 375-year history. And I thought that was a great experience for me, and I did a lot of great things for the town. Also involved in a lot of other community organizations. And one of the biggest things that had helped change my life was becoming a big brother through Big Brothers Big Sisters, and that was also some community service that I did, as well as some world travels. A lot of people don't know this, but I actually spent some time over in India and traveled to Paris and other countries like that. So I do enjoy traveling and so on. And I had a TV show called The Adam Show back when I was 22 years old, and I studied economic issues and concerns not only locally but globally. And there was a show that I did where I actually took the video camera to India, and I interviewed vegetable hawkers and different villages. Some villages were over 1,000 years old in India, and that was quite a big hit on local access television. So I've done a lot and been very civically active in the community, because I know that this community has given me so much, such as a great education, a nice family, and a business. And community service is in my fabric, and I owe it back to the community to give what they've given to me, and that's why I'm running for this office, because unfortunately our community has some problems that need to be addressed, and I feel I'm the best candidate for the job.
So you went right into my next question about why you want to run for state rep, and you've said you've done some local politics, being on the board of Sandwich Selectmen, but taking the jump to state rep. Tell us a little more in depth why you decided to make that move.
Well, there is obviously lots of frustration on a local board when it comes to dealing with state issues, and I get that, having served on the board, and that's really a big separator between me and the incumbent, my opponent, who has never served on a local board like that, and really been in depth with balancing a budget and understanding the local issues at that level. And I think that gives me a tremendous leg up going from a selectman to a state rep, because I understand the budgetary issues and, more importantly, what the issues are at the local level and what a state rep can do to make that more efficient and work, across the aisle, and also with other members of our community, such as selectmen and so on and so forth. So to me, that's very important, and it's instilled a lot of knowledge base to what the community has for our problems and what we don't have for our problems. And I think taking it to the next level as a state rep, I'm well suited for that.
Now, what do you feel are the biggest issues in the district that you could have an effect on if you were to be elected as state rep?
Well, I could tell you the biggest issue that I'm finding, and this is not just coming from me, but this is coming from my constituents, because I've hit a lot of doors and covered a lot of ground, is the drug problem that we're facing and that also results to the crime problem on the Cape. It's really bad, and it was bad before when I was a selectman, but it's getting progressively worse, and it's right in my backyard. I mean, there are consecutive break-ins in my neighborhood in Centerville, and that's a nonpartisan issue that affects not only retirees, but it affects children. It affects my son. And I can tell you right now, the fact that people are stepping over hypodermic needles in Hyannis Main Street Green and finding hypodermic needles in the bathrooms, that's really scary. And it's scary for me as a dad who has a 20-month-old to know that there are problems like that we're facing here. And for anyone not to address that, I mean, that is just that for me not to address that and make that my number one priority would be just crazy.
Now, what would be a way that you might help to address that issue?
Well, there's lots of things that we can do to help address that issue. I've sat down with the police chief of Yarmouth and talked at length with the sheriff, who the sheriff absolutely supports and endorsed my campaign. And they're doing programs in the jail systems right now that I think are taking great steps forward. And I think Rep. Hunt is doing a great job as far as the drug awareness. And one of the biggest things that I see fit is this Vivitrol program. I think one of the mistakes that we make as a society is we label some of these addicts who are, they're not criminals, but they're just people that need help. They're unhealthy from a drug addiction. Throwing them in jail is not the answer. We need to counsel them, and as a community, give them the resources to better themselves. And I think by just taking a drug addict that commits a crime because they're addicted to drugs and throw them in jail isn't the answer. And I think our local authorities know this and they understand this. But unfortunately, to reform someone and take them through the proper channels and introduce this Vivitrol program, that costs money as a society, and we as a state need to address that effectively, expediently, and in a manner that we can start helping our members of our community that are suffering from these addiction problems and not just putting them in jail.
I'm Laura Reckford, and this is Sunday Journal. We're focused on politics with the upcoming election on November 4th. I'm talking with Adam Chaprales, who is running to unseat the incumbent, Brian Mannell, in the Second Barnstable District. Adam, we talked about crime as being and addiction as being two of the big problems in this area. Some of the other issues that I've seen you talk about on your website, taxes, that seems like something you feel very strongly about. Tell us your thoughts on that and where you would differ from the incumbent.
Sure. Well, I don't think that by just completely taxing our local base here is the save-all, be-all answer, which is extremely different from my opponent, who shows that he seems to think that by taxing people is the answer to fix our problems when it's not. I can tell you I'm adamantly against the automatic gas tax index, which my opponent voted for, and he supported. And he still supports, and I think that that's a huge issue because that's going to have a tremendous negative trickle-down effect across the economy as the price of gas consistently goes up without a vote every single year. I mean, that's just going to have a huge negative impact on local businesses and the consumers and so on and so forth, and that's just not the type of tax increase that we're looking for. The other thing is, we should be looking at repealing our state income tax back to 5%. I think having a rollback of our state income tax back to 5% like we were promised and, about 8 years ago, which hasn't happened, would do a lot to stimulate the economy. And it shows through pure economics that when you do some tax rollbacks and some tax incentives, people go out and they spend money. If they don't spend it on the taxes, they spend it on the economy. And that's just pure economics. And unfortunately, I don't think my opponent gets the economic theory behind that, which I do. So that's a huge issue that I think I'd like to work towards and address and work across the aisle, because I don't think it's just a Republican agenda. I think that the Democrats as well feel the same way that we all do. And if we keep taxing us at the local base, we're just going to be suffocated. And it's really keeping down the middle class is really what it's doing. It's suppressing our middle class if they keep getting overtaxed and unable to do the things that they need to do.
Another big issue we hear about a lot on the Cape is the wastewater issue, and a lot of local officials are working together on this. What are your feelings on that, your thoughts on that, and how you could help as a state rep?
Sure. I'd love to sit down and work with a lot of the local authorities on that. I know that there's been some proposals. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. Until I see a proposal that makes sense to address a lot of our wastewater, because I know it's certainly important. We have a lot of nitrogen discharge to our estuaries, and it's can be devastating. And the last thing I want is to ruin our local areas here that are so beautiful on Cape Cod. I would love to be able to have my son enjoy the same thing and future generations to enjoy what we enjoyed. But we have to do it in a way that's not going to stress out the seniors on the fixed incomes, and we got to do it in such a way that it's not going to overburden us in such a tax bill to get these infrastructures going. And I think we're heading into that direction, but we just have to make sure that we all work on all sides to make sure that we come to a resolution on that end.
Now, this particular race on the Cape has gotten heated with some negative mailings and some back and forth. What are your feelings on how this has taken place and whether you've been a part of any of that?
Yeah, well, I can tell I have been no part of any negative mailings. I haven't done any mailings yet through my campaign, which, I will be doing some mailings, and my mailings will be consistent upon who I am and why I'm running, because I think that's what the voters want to do. I'm not going to speak upon the mailers that had gone out, but I will say that they were actual votes that Mr. Mantle took, and he doesn't like it, but that's too bad. He has to answer to what the mailers are, and he owes it to the voters to explain himself. And I think by saying that they were just misled votes isn't really what the voters are looking for. But then again, that's his problem that he has to deal with. I'm really focusing on my own camp and what my race has to do. And I can tell you, I'm an issues-based candidate. So I have not run a negative campaign at all. I won't run a negative campaign. And I'm going to focus on the issues because that's what really matters. People want to vote for the candidate that's on top of the issues. And I'm on top of the issues. And
the last 30 seconds or so that we have left, any final words you'd like to leave with the voters?
Sure. I would love to get bestowed the trust that I did as a Sandwich selectman. And I'd like people to go to my website, which is www.adamforstaterep.com, F-O-R, staterep.com. And please, if you'd like to contact me, here's my cell phone number, 508-776-7125. My cell phone number is also on the press part of my website and on all my campaign literature. So if you'd like to get a hold of me, feel free to get a hold of me. Thank you very much for having me here.
And unfortunately, we're out of time. Thank you so much for being here today. I've been talking with Adam Chaprales, a Republican who is running for state representative in the Second Barnstable District. I'm Laura Reckford, and this is Sunday Journal.
This podcast is a presentation of Cape Cod Broadcasting, which is solely responsible for its content. Thank you for listening. For more information, please visit us at capecodbroadcasting.com.